What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be going over my top 10 picks of cards for alternate being. So let's get into the video and talk about it. So let's get into this top 10. First off, I'm going to bring up one of the Digitamas in the number 10 slot, Kokomon. So this card is fantastic, to be honest with you. The fact of this card is a very powerful draw card for basically any of your green decks going forwards is going to be amazing. The fact of your turn, when an effect suspends one of your Digimon, draw a card. As long as you have a way of suspending your Digimon by your own abilities, which green is known for, you're going to be drawing cards, which keeps tempo in the game. Sometimes you don't need that power boost or you need that memory gain, but being able to use this with Bloom Lord or even any of the other green decks in the game right now can definitely provide you some great momentum and keeping tempo. So very important there. Next card we're going to talk about is Gaomon. This is our number 9 slot. So this card is to combo in with your Greymon support. This now makes Gaomon its own kind of interesting deck because it's being able to use your end of turn effect. If you have a Tamer in play, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a card with Gaomon in its name, and a play costs 13 or more from your hand without paying its Digi-Evolution cost, ignoring Digi-Evolution requirements. Being able to swap in and then go into your D-Digivolver, really important sometimes, and this can help out and apply pressure in a way that's going to matter. So definitely with it, it becomes like almost 3 different top ends for the Greymon tribal decks, which is really good to see. And the fact of when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost 13 or more. If no Digimon is deleted by this effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Free security removal, really good. But really, Gaomon number 9 is pretty solid there. Next, we do have Shadow Seraphimon. So this card is going into any Setcon deck going forwards. What do I mean by this? Well, because this thing can Digivolve on top of Seraphimon, which is fine. Opponent's turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Now this changes up a lot of tempo and changes up game plans, especially with Shadow Seraphimon. If they can't raid into it and their only objective is to swing into security, their Digimon's going to become smaller. And that's not always guaranteed to be valuable, especially because it can produce a lot of pressure. But also on deletion, this card is going to recover you one, and then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4,000 DP for the turn for each card in your security stack. Means it can most likely, if you only, this can kill most megas very comfortably. So stuff like this is to keep in mind, really very much so. Next card we're going to talk about though is, I got to give this to our number 7 slot. This has to go to Mecha Gaomon. Mecha Gaomon is going to see play in 2 decks. The Gaomon deck, or the Mirage Gaomon, or you're going to see this played into Machine Dramon. Machine Dramon likes this card a lot, actually, because of the fact of the when attacking, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, unsuspend this Digimon. It's a free unsuspend, which is mandatory, but this helps out with Machine Dramon being able to restand, get an extra attack in, which can apply more pressure, because let's be honest, Machine Dramon is very hard to remove. But the fact of this also gives another restander for your Mirage Gaomon. This is definitely going to be a very useful card going forward, so I would expect this in a lot of decks. So keep an eye out on it for sure. Has to be Skull Knightmon, or well, the Dark Knightmon support in generalization. The fact of Skull Knightmon being an on-play, if you don't have a Nene card in play, you may play one from your hand without paying its memory cost, is really huge. This is what the kind of deck needed, was to be able to play their Tamer for free, because you were kind of just like struggling to get Nene out, and getting a Digimon out on the same turn was very much nigh impossible. But now with the ability to be able to play Nene for just hard playing this card is really good. And the fact that if it's deleted, you get to reveal your top card, and then if that card is a Blue Flare or Twilight Trace, add it to your hand, trash the rest. What's really nice is it also introduced a bunch of new Twilight cards into the deck for Dark Knightmon. Now it has more consistency in a way that it wasn't really there before. So it's really good to see this and the Inheritable reboot, but even just taking a look at its other counterparts in the set, it does help out a lot. It's a lot of the stuff was what Dark Knightmon needed to be able to compete a little bit more, to be honest. Next, let's go into, this is Greymon, or the Blue Flare archetype in itself. This is very interesting, taking it in the account that it's really in here because now Greymon and Male Bergermon both have inheritables that are basically not restrictive anymore, because that was the huge problem about Blue Flare, was your opponent could play around you, and if they could starve you and do a single stack style, you were basically stuck out of the game and you were trying to keep tempo. You weren't gaining any effects. Now with when attacking, draw a card, and then you have inheritable jamming from Male Bergermon's new form. This now gives it a way of being able to compete against everything else, because now they can't play around you very comfortably. Now you can still just go in for rush tactics and still apply pressure. So it's really powerful just to be able to have that restriction taken away. So definitely keeping that in mind. Next, gotta be Golden Digimon. So this card is a new armor form for two very important decks. One is All Force, and two, Armors. So normally you wouldn't mind any of this kind of right? But the fact of that this can help at All Force, because when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. If you have a blue or yellow tamer in play, or a card with armor form in its traits in your trash, one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less cannot attack or block until the end of the opponent's turn. So what gets really nasty about this Golden Digimon is, depending on setup, especially Digivolving up, you can minus big threats down, and which can lead to being able to swing more comfortably because now their numbers aren't as big as yours. Now you don't have to rely so heavily on maybe having a tie out or anything like that when you go in for your all for swing kill turn. So it does help out, especially being able to make one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or least less cannot attack or block until the end of the opponent's turn really does matter in some circumstances. Being able to stop them from blocking can really set them back. So definitely good to see that Armor's got some TLC with just one card, and it does set the deck up a lot better in my opinion. Then we have Kazuhamon. This is basically new support for Sakuyamon. This card is so much future splashable, it's not even funny. Because being able to, using its when Digivolving effect to use one of your 5 or less options from your hand without paying its cost, you can basically play cards like Kaiser Nail, or in the case if you're playing Blue Flare, future support that way, Blazing Memory Boost, their option to search more. So this basically becomes a splashable top end for the Blue Flare archetype. Or, you know, even going forwards, future decks can definitely play her comfortably. You know, you do also have options to go into a Sakuyamon theme, Renamon theme deck, but to be honest with you, it's that when Digivolving option into Blue Flare really does help the deck out a lot. And I think this card has a lot of potentials even going in the future. Definitely, it just takes some time. More support will definitely change this deck up and give you a lot of value. And being able to, when an option card with a cost 2 or more, you may play one Tomon or yellow or blue level 4 or lower Digimon from this Digivolution without paying its memory cost. This card is always going to see benefits in my opinion, and it'll be worth seeing what happens with it going forwards. Our number 2 slot has to go to Kiriha and Nene. I think this card beats out most support in this set alone. There's not many times you can say that there's a centralized theme. Yes, you can go and splash this in basically 3 different decks. One, you play it in Skull Knightmon, Dark Knightmon, you play it in Blue Flare, or you play it in Gray's Knightmon's theme deck. This card basically answered the major problems of their deck, and it's basically just because of the text box at the top that says it treats itself as a Kiriha / Nene. So each one's treats itself as a separate, basically searchable card or playable card by either of its archetypes, and that's really huge. And then start on your main phase, if there's 2 or more Digimon in play, gain 1 memory. That's really important. But the fact of when you would play one Digimon with Blue Flare or Twilight as traits and Digicross requirements, by spending this tamer, you may place 1 card from under your tamers and 1 from your trash as a Digicross. So This now lets you use your stuff, which is vital at the end of the day. You weren't really expecting to be able to digicross from your trash. This now lets you have access to your trash in a way that you weren't having before. Now this is very important because now pieces lost through Digivolution or anything like that can be used again, and that can lead to being very powerful plays. I think this is a very powerful card in itself, and it does definitely fit my criteria for being an S tier card for, you know, future support. This card will always see play in those three styles of decks. It's not even funny. So definitely keep this in mind. And then finally, I have to give it to Shine Greymon Ruin Mode as our number 1. Some secret had to reach there, right? To be honest with you, with my top 10, this card just so powerful. Being able to, when digivolving on deletion, all your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5,000 DP until the end of opponent's turn. That blanket effect alone can set your opponent back by miles. Means they can't promote up champions from their raising area just to come very comfortably at all. This card is probably mostly seen in set cons or Belistar or Beelzestar, one of the two. And I'm going to be honest with you, this card is just always going to see play. You can also play it in Shine Greymon, but definitely once it has its burst mode, you kind of don't really need Ruin mode. But this is just huge. And then end of attack, delete this Digimon, delete one of your opponent's Digimon, and recovery +1. Then if you have a tamer in play, hatch one Digi Egg card to an empty space in your breeding area. So this basically is another analog youth effect. Basically being able to hatch your Digitama so that you have a way of climbing back up after this Digimon is lost, which is not bad. And all you have to do is have a tamer in play, and it recovers you 1 from your deck, so you basically get an extra free security for loss of this Digimon. And then basically if you digivolve and on deletion at the same time, you have a blanket effect for 10,000 DP. Your opponent's not doing much with that, and that's just a scary combination, to be honest with you. And hopefully we see a lot more going forwards. But guys, what did you think of my so guys, hopefully you enjoyed my top 10 picks. Let me know down in the comments what your top 10 picks would be. So guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.